Hello, I am Cryptosi, and welcome to the very first, the maiden voyage of Blackboard Wednesdays. Now, they said Whiteboard Wednesdays would roll off the tongue better, but I'm in dark mode, and if it's good enough for Charles Chuck Norris Hoskinson, good enough for me. I'm Cryptosi, your gender fluid, Jewish, communist, non-African American host. Let's get all those things out of the way. Not your professional type, so if you come for knowledge and not for status, pull up a seat, as they say, and let's get started. So basically, what I want to do with this series is discuss various topics surrounding cryptocurrency and other technologies, and really try to get some thought and discussion going in the comments below or on Twitter or wherever you can find me. These are generally things I love talking about, and I'm going to hope to get some guests on some future shows. But for today, I wanted to talk about my absolute favorite subject, which is let me get my pen. That would help. My absolute favorite subject, which is let's use capitals. Come on, DAOs. DAOs are decentralized, autonomous organizations, and basically, in the context that I'm using them for this video, they are the budget area where you decide what gets what funding within a project. Okay, so arguably Bitcoin is a DAO, but that's a philosophical argument we can have another day, or you can have another day. I'm not really interested in it. We're talking about budget DAOs, right? So we're talking about DAOs that organize and decide and allow people to put forward proposals to get funding to help a network, to build a network. Why am I qualified to talk about DAOs? Well, I guess in true DAO fashion, anyone's qualified to talk. But I worked on a DAO for years known as PIVX. Both loved and hated throughout the cryptosphere. PIVX was originally called Darknet, and then through the DAO, it actually rebranded and became PIVX. It uses its DAO to fund people. There have been proposals funded for people all around the world from different ethnicities, sexual orientations, genders, backgrounds, religions, you name it. For me, PIVX is probably the most mature DAO that there is, I would say. And we'll talk about why. We'll discuss why later. But just for reference, I guess, two other well-known DAOs in the crypto space are Dash, which actually gave birth to PIVX, and Decred, which is an OG in the space. Let's give them the OG title. OGs. So let's box those off, because really we don't need to be seeing them all day long. So those are two of the DAOs which I worked for. Well, one of the DAOs which I worked for was PIVX, and Dash was a DAO that I was also very interested in. I was interested in Decred, and I did put a proposal forward there, but it was shut down spectacularly. And we'll discuss why. I may touch on it. I may touch on why later in this video. It's not even really a bad thing, right? Okay, so let's look at the main pro and con of DAOs. I'm not going to do a bunch of them. We'll just do one. So But what are the pros and the cons of DAO? The main pro of a DAO is that you get to harness the wisdom of the. I'm going to get a thinner pen. This one's it's a bit thick, isn't it? Of the crowd. There we go. That's a lot better. The con is that it can be very time consuming. So to reach a decision, you have to ask everybody the question. You have to give everybody time to find out the question, and then you have to give everybody time to digest it and come to a decision. So it's a lot more time consuming than, let's say, having a single person who is in charge of the entire project or the entire budget. Now, you do get a much better, more efficient or more effective use of your funds if you harness the wisdom of the crowd. It's a well documented fact that if you have five average people approach a complex problem, not a simple problem, a complex problem, which is what DAOs always deal with. If you have five average people approach a complex problem, you're going to get a better result than if you have one very good person approach a complex problem. Maybe five might be a bit of a small pool, but with a DAO, we're talking about thousands, right? Or let's say realistically, tens to hundreds of people will be participating in a good sized DAO. That's what we had in PivX, tens to hundreds of people participating. Participation doesn't only mean voting, it can mean putting forward proposals, it can mean joining discussions, it can mean advancing proposals, making suggestions, and just making ideas better, problem solving effectively. And that has many different facets, let's say. Okay, so those are the two main pros and cons of working with a DAO. I feel like I could maybe zoom in a little bit, here, and then let's move over here. Okay, so we've covered our pros and our cons. I'm just going to quickly look at my show notes, and yeah, I wanted to go on to after this free. Let's say what's the word I'm looking for? Features. Yeah, let's say features. Free features of DAOs. Free features of DAOs that people don't often consider. Right? That people don't often consider these free things. Now, number one, DAOs are alive. And I've said this before quite a few times. I like to consider a DAO like a child. So PivX, for example, was my baby. That does mean that the oldest DAO in the world is around 7 years old, if we call Dash the oldest DAO. Now, at 7 years old, it is not mature. Dash's DAO is still a child. PivX's DAO is still a child. Decred's DAO is still a child, and anything built on top of PivX is an even younger child. The entire concept of DAOs is kind of new to us. So we are learning how to use them. We're learning how to harness them. We're learning how to communicate within them. We're learning what makes them better. We're learning what makes them worse. And now, 7 years on, I guess maybe people have done this before I have, but now we've got a YouTube video specifically actually discussing how we can improve DAOs. All right, so the first thing I always like to note is that DAOs are alive. Think of them as children, and you have to you have to shepherd a DAO, and you have to help the DAO grow. So as a DAO is young, it's not going to be as decentralized as it is when it grows older, because it's not ready to be independent, just like a child. You don't send your 7-year-old, well, you may be a little bit neglectful to send your 7-year-old to the shops to buy you, I don't know, alcohol or whatever. It depends how far away the shop is, but you get my drift, right? So we have to look after the DAO, and as they get older, you look after them a little bit less, or an individual looks after them a little bit less, and then the DAO starts to take on a life of its own, and then you become part of a bigger picture. All right. So number two, um, generally, a DAO is not a democracy, and this can be difficult for people to get their head around initially when they enter a DAO. It is not fair. You will have people who have got more coins than you, and therefore they get a bigger vote. So what it actually is, and this is a bit of a dirty word uh, in some social circles, I'm going to go with an O. Is a plutocracy. I don't know if that's an O or an A. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We're not here to spell. We're here to yell. So it's a plutocracy, which means that the more money you've got, or the stronger your weighted vote, which is generally by how many coins you have, um, the the more you're going to be heard. This is generally not the most efficient way to do things, but a democracy is basically mob ruled or ruled by majority, which also is not the best way to do things. Neither of these are really a big problem, providing you can have good education and you can have good discussion around things. And the people who are the people with the weight then take into account the majority, or the 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 intelligence of what people say. But a DAO, as we said before, is, when it's young, it's generally only as strong as the whales who are there to shepherd it. Right, so it's not a democracy. Third, and finally, the last one is that it aims to be inclusive. What do I mean by that? It's not about social justice. It's about allowing anybody to get involved. So no matter where you are in the world, providing you have an internet connection, you should be able to get involved in a DAO. A good DAO, anybody should be able to get involved in. Now, you may not be able to vote because you may not have enough coins to vote. PivX and Dash both have a limit where, with Dash, I think you have to have around 100 and, I guess, 30,000 at the time of writing USD to have a vote. In PivX at the time of writing, I think it's about, let's say, 5k USD. I'm not sure. I'm going off the top of my head. I looked at these prices maybe today, maybe yesterday. So that's what you need to vote. However, to put in a proposal on Dash, you would need maybe about $700. Yeah, you would maybe need about $700. I think it's 650. You would need 600. Let's just call it $600. And on PivX, you would need 50 cents each, and you need 50 of them times 5 is $25. Um, and this is just to ask a question. That needs to be fixed. Um, that's bad. Really, on a on a good DAO, you would really want to be able to put forward a vote for this much, for $5 worldwide. I'd maybe even say less. Well, let's say $5. The reason why you have this is so that people don't spam the network with asking silly questions. When I was with PivX, I had this protocol called alliances, where we would ask, do you want to form a partnership with such and such organization? The first decentralized, truly decentralized partnership forming protocol that humanity has ever seen, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know. far as I know. One of the developers always thought it was trash. Fuzzball, sorry. He always thought it was a trash idea, and that the DAO shouldn't be used for that. It should just be used for deciding how to divide up money. We disagreed on that, but that's not a bad thing. So these are the three things, right? It aims to be inclusive, so anyone can come in and join. It's not a democracy, which is probably a good thing. Democracy is a little bit simple. It's a plutocracy, kind of mirrors traditional retail stock owning uh, shareholder votes. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And most importantly, DAOs are alive. That's the most important takeaway that you should get from here. Whenever you consider a DAO, consider how old it is before you consider how decentralized it is. There's not going to be a DAO that's massively decentralized and only 5 years old. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be a DAO that's massively decentralized and only 7 years old. Um, it's not going to happen. It just takes more time. You need time for the whales that are there to grow older and diversify and leave and allow the distribution of the coin to filter out amongst many more users. That simply takes time. So those are the three features of a DAO. So now let's discuss how you could improve a DAO and things to watch out for. What should we talk about first? Let's start with the negative. Yeah, let's start with the negative. Let's start with the negative. Pitfalls. The negatives and the positives they kind of will mirror each other. One of the pitfalls of the DAOs is that you end up with too much politics. Now, when I discussed this with my good friend Kayaba about having a DAO within Meros, which is a project I've been doing a podcast on for years now, this was the main reason why he was very hesitant to add one. Too much politics. You just end up with a lot of arguments. The reason why you end up with a lot of arguments generally is because you're doing things right, and this is quite a hard concept for people to get their head around. But we will touch on why in a little while. Another pitfall is that you can often attempt to find leaders. Now, I want to say this is a pitfall because it can be a pitfall. Because in an attempt to find leaders, what you end up doing is you end up giving people merit. And sometimes it may be unwarranted. This is a bit. This we could discuss. We could discuss this on its own for a long time. So you know what? I'm not. Let's not really go into that too deep. Let's stick with the other two, right? Because I want to make this. I want to make this a family show, man. I want to make this a family show. Right. So those are the pitfalls. Those are the pitfalls, right? So let's look at the. Let's look at how you can make a. Let's look at how you can make. Let's look at how you can improve a DAO. Because effectively, this is really what I've come here to do. This is why we're here. This is the $1 million question right here. So how do you improve a DAO? I've got three main things that I think you can do to improve a DAO. And let's start with number one. Communication. And by communication, I mean if you want to dig into it, I mean that, let's say, so video is better than audio, which is better than text. Properly. It's not a flipping maths test. Video is better than audio, which is better than text. One thing that I learned when I was at PivX for all those years is that we would argue here. Here we would argue. Here we would fight. This is where we go to fight. This is where we go to let's say discuss. But it was here was where we all fell in love. Now there's a lot that can be said for seeing a person's face. If you can see a person's face, you can see their facial expressions, you can better understand what they're trying to say to you. It's harder to be angry. You realize you have more in common because they have a face and you have a face. They have eyes, ears, nose, mouth, all that stuff. So generally what we found was that when we had text only, we would fight. If we went to audio, we would discuss. And if we had a video, we would fall in love. But most importantly, we would find solutions. Find solutions. Most importantly, right? During that fall in love stage, that's what we do. We find solutions. I think, I don't think this is out of place here. I don't think it's out of place. So communication is one way to improve it. Always consider what it is you want the community to discuss. And where possible, especially when it's a contentious issue, anything to do with economics and money, or anything to do with how a particular person has been treated, or a particular person feels ostracized, or you have too much friction over a particular topic, you can escalate the conversation from text to audio. If there's a particular proposal that's come in and that particular proposal is really dividing people, you have to move it to audio. If at audio it's still dividing people, move it to video. By the time you get to video, I promise you, people will fall in love and you'll find solutions. Always works that way. Very hard to curse someone out over video. So easy to curse them out over text. I haven't had a video call argument in my life. I think I've had one with Kayaba, but I can argue with Kayaba even when he's not here. He's annoying me now when he's not here. That's but text, I've had plenty of text arguments, and I've had very few audio arguments. So, and if you think about your own history or your own experiences, you'll probably find something the same. So communication. Also, it's worth noting that you can do things like you can have, and I've tried to champion these before in PivX to varying levels of success. You can have uh, conference calls. You can have conference calls to discuss topics. They can be topic specific, and well, they can act like AMAs. So we had governance calls in PivX where somebody with a proposal would come onto the governance call and people would get to ask them anything, and it worked really well. We had some very contentious proposals. We had one around. This is a good anecdote actually. We had one around a project called Merge, which aimed to be like a canary project for PivX, and some of the developers thought it was a terrible idea. They they think of things analytically, and some people think of things holistically. I felt that the idea to have a partnership with Merge and have a canary network was a great idea. They thought it was a terrible idea. We had a call over it regarding it, and we got a lot of discussion done. And in the end, we all came to the agreement. I believe even I was in agreement with it that it wasn't. the right time to have such a network and such an arrangement, purely because Merge was still too young. It was still in its infancy, and all it really had was that it was forked from PivX. Now, as time has gone on, Merge has gone on, and it has completed the things it said it was going to do. And now we now have Polkadot and Kusama, which is the exact same as PivX and Merge would have been, and it works great. PivX and Merge would have been the blueprint for that, but on that occasion we dropped the ball. We missed the trick because we didn't come back to it soon enough, I think. I'd also say embrace all ideas. Okay, there's no such thing as a bad idea. People come in with a proposal and they say, I want to paint my body purple and run around and promote PivX. Embrace the idea. Try to improve it. I hate when people put numbers for letters, for words. Try to improve them. All right, so that's something that you should always think about when you're considering how to make your DAO better. In my humble opinion, embrace all ideas, try to improve them. Another anecdote from PivX was a guy came in, he wanted to make a payment processor. A lot of people poo-pooed it, they rubbished it. People generally do with DAOs. Generally, people are trying to find ways to shoot down the idea and call someone a scammer. You're not going to do what you say you're going to do, blah, blah, blah. I spoke to this guy, and off the back of it, he ended up having a whole startup called Vendable, which is still to this day doing pretty well. It's had various seed rounds, etc., etc. So there's opportunity in everything, every single idea that comes, every single one. There's no such thing as a bad idea. Right. The second way. Lower barriers. Let's put it all on one line. One line. It's a drunk line. With the line. Lower barriers to entry. So this is try to promote humans who connect humans. I'll leave that for a little while to see if that sinks in. And now I'm going to explain what it means. Right, so I'm going to write his name here because this man was absolutely amazing at this. Well, there was two of them. That's probably butchered the spelling of his name. But these two, both of these two guys were amazing at this. Promote humans who connect humans. So what you really have to realize is that when you have a DAO, the developers are still important, but they're nowhere near as important as these men, women, humans, souls. They're nowhere near as many as the souls who connect people. And I stand by this. I will stand by this comment. People like this will make outcasts, outliers feel like they can enter. They lower the barriers to entry. They make you feel like anyone can enter because whoever does enter, they provide them with this. And in a DAO, that can never be that can never be overstated. We're talking about human interactions. The better the human interactions, the more efficient those humans are going to be, the better they're going to be at solving those problems, the more they're going to feel like they can take part. You have a lot of people within crypto in particular at the moment, this may change, who are reluctant participants. If you have guys like Matthias and Snappy, guys who generally are the type of people that will say hi to everyone, that will invite everyone in, that will tell everyone that they're appreciated, that will tell everyone they're loved, all of that nonsensical stuff that engineers really just don't understand, they will lower the barriers to entry. You lower the barriers to entry, you invite more people in, you get more minds to work on your problems, you have a bigger and stronger group mind, and you do better things. Lowering the barriers to entry is the second thing on my list of how you can improve your DAO. I think I think the final thing, well, I know for a fact the final thing is certainly the most important. Certainly the most important thing to improve a DAO. Now this is the steroids of working with DAOs. Now this I'm certain of. Now what is cognitive diversity? Yeah, you see a black man start talking about diversity and everybody starts rolling their eyes and thinking, oh, well, is this going to be another guilt trip for white folk? No. Ah, maybe a little bit. No, it's not. Genuinely not. Cognitive diversity is about the real important part of the word is of the term is cognitive. So it's about having people within the group that think differently. So, and this actually does go back to lowering the barriers to entry and also with communication to some degree, but definitely to lowering the barriers to entry is so that you can improve this factor. Cognitive diversity is the most important thing. Now, what this allows is for you to have people who think differently, right? So what you want is people who think differently. Why do you want people who think differently? Because, oh, let's do that again then, shall we? Why do you want people who think differently? Um, because they will solve problems differently, right? So if you have people who think differently, you get more solved problems. You also get more varied ideas. Cognitive diversity allows you to have people within your team your team being your DAO, who can think differently and approach problems differently. You have a problem, how do we solve it? If you've got a bunch of people who all went to university and who are all analytical thinkers and who are all from London and who've all, I don't know, voted Labour, whilst you're all going to pat each other on the back and feel like you're really, really smart and you're all going to be like, yeah, that's right, yeah, that's right, yeah, that's right, it may not be right. Okay? If you have 25 Cryptosies in a room, it's a damn handsome room, but they're all just going to be telling each other how handsome Cryptosi is. All right, on that occasion, they'd be right. But there could be a problem to solve where all of the identical thinking cryptosies decide that this is the correct way to go, and it turns out to be the absolute wrong way to go. cognitive diversity is the single most important feature a DAO can have, because it makes room for all of the others. Now, does it mean you have to have cultural diversity? The answer is no. You can definitely have a bunch of almost 40-year-old males from London who are relatively well spoken, exceedingly handsome, all in the same group, and they have got different ways of approaching things. Like, you definitely, it doesn't mean you have to go out and start ticking boxes and saying, okay, well, we now need this many women, we need this many black guys, we need this many LGBT. Doesn't mean that. However, if you do have women, and you do have people from different religious backgrounds, you you get the cognitive diversity cooked into that. It's the easiest way to get it. You just get it cooked in. I don't think you should go out and hunt for it, but I think you definitely should be aware, if you don't have any diversity, that you probably don't have any cognitive diversity either. So just bear that in mind. For me, that's the most important thing. I wanted to discuss. I wanted to discuss. Um, I'm really trying to consider whether we should go into it or not, or if I should make a separate video for it. I wanted to see if I. Uh, no, I think I'll leave it there. I think I'll leave it there. Okay, so future thoughts. Let's just end on this. Future thoughts. Should should Cryptosi start a DAO? Because this is kind of what I've been considering. So, answers on a postcard. Should Cryptosi start a DAO? And why? Or why not? By a DAO, let's say this DAO is has it has strictly one it has strictly one. You know what? Well, why not? Why not? Let's oh, I didn't want to move that shape. Let's consider that. Let's consider it. Let's use this little bit of space here. Just as a thought process, as thought experiment, let's start Cryptosi DAO. Almost forgot the item. Start Cryptosi DAO. And let's say all its job is to do is to create more tokens, to fund more building. By tokens, I mean supply, not separate tokens. Excuse me. So yeah, so thanks for watching. I guess that I kind of covered all the things I wanted to cover. Yeah, so in summary, those are the main things that you should consider. The things of the DAOs. If you think there's anything that I've left out in this discussion, um, feel free to send me a message on Twitter, or on Discord if you can find me. On Twitter, you'll find me. I'm at crypto underscore SI. Should I try and draw the Twitter bird? No, I'm not even going to try. So yeah. So yeah, thanks for watching. I really enjoyed that, and hopefully I will be back next week, and maybe we can discuss tokenomics, which will be a lot less scattered than this because it's a lot more of a honed in subject. But yeah, so should I start a Cryptosi DAO? Should we consider how it could be done, why it should be done? Um, I feel like it would be a fun social experiment, just seeing how much or um, how much of this we can build, how much of this stuff here we can build, and how we could measure it. I think that would be interesting to do. So yeah, I may do that. Thanks very much for watching, and maybe next time I'll record from somewhere a little bit more fancy, put a little Lambo in the background and whatnot. But until we meet again, adios.